Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. SkyCommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by SkyCommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started.
Imagine drones flying far beyond our sight. Delivering packages to remote communities, inspecting hundreds of kilometers of critical infrastructure like power lines, pipelines, or precisely mapping huge agricultural landscapes. It sounds like something pulled from a futuristic movie, right? But this isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening every single day across Canada.
It really is.
But with these uncrewed aircraft sharing our skies, how do we ensure they operate not just safely, but, seamlessly, without interfering with traditional aviation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Integration.
Exactly. So today, we're taking a deep dive into the truly fascinating and, quite frankly, mission-critical world of beyond visual line of sight, or BVLOS, Communications and Coordination for Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems, RPAS, here in Canada.
It's a complex area, but absolutely vital.
Our mission for you, our listener, is to unpack this complex stack of regulations, evolving procedures, and future changes, pulling out the most important nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
We're going to give you a clear, structured understanding, a real shortcut to being incredibly well-informed, highlighting those crucial aha moments and the essential, let's call them exam smarts, that make all the difference when you're navigating this cutting-edge space.
Think of it like getting the inside track.
Kind of like gaining an all-access pass to a very exclusive yet rapidly growing segment of the aviation community.
It truly is a new frontier, and the way these sophisticated systems communicate and integrate with our existing national airspace is absolutely paramount. We're not just talking about groundbreaking technology here, we're establishing the robust operational practices that will define aviation for decades to come. It's foundational stuff.
That's an excellent way to frame it. Foundational. Okay, let's unpack this with what I'm calling the absolute golden rule of BVLOS communications. It seems like every single question you might have, whether you're meticulously planning a flight or maybe facing a tricky exam scenario, boils down to one fundamental principle. What did the NAV drone authorization, or the SFOC, explicitly say? This isn't just a guideline, is it? It's like the undisputed anchor for your entire operation.
It is the anchor, absolutely. That's the core principle, and you're right, it's a direct, unyielding mandate. It's not about what you think should be done based on past experiences or, what seemed to work last week.
Right.
It's a precise, legally binding instruction. If a specific communication method, maybe a particular frequency or a detailed reporting procedure, isn't explicitly stated right there in your authorization, well, you don't get to invent it on the fly.
You can't just wing it.
You follow exactly what's written. That document isn't just permission. It defines the very parameters of your operation. It ensures compliance and, more importantly, safety above all else. And what often trips up even very experienced operators is assuming continuity. They might have flown the same route, same drone, same client, maybe even yesterday.
Yeah, that's common.
But each authorization is a fresh, specific contract with the airspace for that flight.
That's a critical nuance. It really reminds me of that common saying in the drone world, NAV drone doesn't give you wings.
Exactly.
An authorization is always mission-specific, meaning it's tailored to the unique conditions of that specific flight. Even if you flew the exact same corridor yesterday, and maybe your authorization didn't require any radio comms, today's authorization might explicitly mandate phone reports at specific waypoints, or even VHF radio calls at certain altitudes. You have a legal obligation to consult each and every new authorization.
Every single time. No shortcuts.
And for a field that can feel overwhelming with its complexity, truly grasping this concept simplifies so much, doesn't it? It gives you one single source of truth for your comms requirements.
Precisely. And for you, the listener, understanding this simplifies what could otherwise be a labyrinth of regulations. Your very first and most important step every time is to refer to your specific current NAV drone authorization. This proactive approach prevents assumptions that could lead to non-compliance or Worse, a safety incident. It is your ultimate non-negotiable source of truth for that particular operation, setting the stage for every communication and coordination step that follows.
Got it. So with that golden rule firmly established, let's talk about the key players in your BVLOS communication ecosystem. First up, the big one, the gateway to Canadian-controlled airspace, NAV drone. What exactly is it, and why is it so fundamental?
Okay, NAV drone. It's managed by NAV Canada. That's Canada's civilian air navigation service provider, right?
Right.
It's the official and, as our sources emphatically state, really the only app you can use to legally request air traffic services, or ATS, authorization for RPAS operations within controlled Canadian airspace.
The only app. That's key.
Yes, but to call it just an app is a bit misleading, I think. It's much more than a simple submission portal. Think of it as a sophisticated digital workflow system. It processes your intricate operational requests, and critically, it then embeds all the specific communication and coordination conditions directly into the authorization document it generates for you. This is truly where the entire planning and operational process begins for any BVLOS operation conducted in controlled airspace.
So it's not just a fancy form to fill out. It's the digital handshake, kind of, that integrates you into the national airspace system, providing clarity on how you're supposed to communicate.
Exactly. It defines the terms of engagement.
And to help us remember its role, we've got a great mnemonic for NAV drone. Notify, authorize, verify.
I like that. Notify, authorize, verify.
You notify NZ Canada of your operational intent. They authorize your operation with precise conditions, which crucially include your comms requirements. And you, in turn, verify these conditions against other critical real-time info like NOTAMs and up-to-date airspace data.
That verification step is crucial.
For anyone looking to operate legally and safely in controlled airspace, this tool is your absolute starting point. Ignoring it simply isn't an option. It's the foundation of your operational legality.
And this naturally leads us to another set of absolutely crucial players. Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, or IEST, and Transport Canada, TC. Now, there's a really important distinction here when it comes to certification.
Yes.
That's a common exam trick to watch out for, and it speaks to their distinct mandates. We're specifically talking about the ROCA, the Restricted Operator Certificate Aeronautical, and then the overarching operational frameworks like the SFOC and the upcoming RPOC.
Okay, let's dive into the ROCA first. What's truly fascinating here, and a point often misunderstood, is that the ROCA is issued by ISD, not Transport Canada.
That's the one. Big distinction.
Huge distinction for operators. And you only actually need a ROCA if you're going to transmit on the VHF airband, right?
That's absolutely correct.
You don't need it just to monitor or listen on an airband receiver, which is another common misconception in itself.
Exactly. Listening is passive, transmitting is active.
Yeah.
The ROCA is a radio operator's credential specifically for aviation communications, and it's entirely separate from any RPAS pilot certificate issued by Transport Canada.
Okay.
IRCD, as the federal department responsible for telecommunications and spectrum management, issues the certificate. Its core purpose is to ensure that you, the operator, possess the necessary linguistic and procedural proficiency to communicate effectively and clearly on aviation frequencies.
So standard phraseology, etiquette.
Yes, understanding standard phraseology, radio etiquette, emergency procedures, the whole package. The moment you push that transmit button on an aviation frequency, even if it's just to say, well, anything, you must hold the certificate. It's about ensuring clarity, avoiding miscommunication, and ultimately maintaining safety on the airways for all users, crewed and uncrewed alike.
So a fantastic memory aid, get this straight, is the ROCA rule. If you key the mic, you need the cert.
Perfect. Simple and clear.
That instantly clarifies its very specific requirement. This distinction isn't just crucial for legal operation, it's also a classic test question trap. Understanding the who issues what when it comes to certification can save you a lot of headache, both in an exam and, out in the field.
Definitely. Now, moving from the RCA, let's look at the operational frameworks that dictate how you conduct your BVLOS ops. The Special Flight Operations Certificate, or SFOC, and the much-anticipated RPAS Operator Certificate, the RPOC.
Right. The SFOC is what we've mostly known until now.
Historically, yes. Almost all BVLOS operations required an SFOC RPAS. These were essentially bespoke authorizations, meticulously crafted for each specific mission. Consequently, communications requirements were determined on a highly individualized case-by-case basis.
So very tailored.
Very tailored. SFOCs still exist today, and they'll continue to be used for higher risk or non-standard operations that fall outside the new, more standardized frameworks. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, a truly monumental shift is coming.
The RPOC.
The RPAS Operator Certificate coming into effect on November 4th, 2025. This is a brand new Transport Canada operator level certificate.
November 4th, 2025. Okay, everyone, mark that date down. This RPOC is more than just a piece of paper, right? It formalizes an entire organization's approach to safety.
Precisely.
It covers everything from their management systems, their detailed standard operating procedures, SOPs, to their training programs and safety assurance protocols, all specifically for what they're calling Level 1 complex operations. This sounds analogous to the structured systems we see in traditional manned aviation operators, like airlines or charter companies.
That's exactly the intent. This evolution signifies a profoundly important move in the Canadian RPAS industry. It's a strategic shift from those highly customized individual mission approvals of SFOCs to a more standardized framework-based approach with RPOCs for Level 1 complex operations. The primary aim here is to significantly reduce the bureaucratic burden and increase predictability for operators doing lower-risk BVLOS.
Which should help the industry grow.
Absolutely. It fosters innovation and scalability while maintaining rigorous safety standards. It's a huge step towards making BVLOS more accessible and efficient. Now, while SFOCs won't disappear entirely, they will now carry specific fees.
Oh, okay, an incentive.
Exactly. It further incentivizes operators to migrate towards the more streamlined Level 1 complex framework where their operations fit. For a memory aid, maybe something like responsible people operating compliant helps capture that core RPOC idea. It's about the whole organization's capability, not just one pilot's ticket.
Responsible people operating compliant. I like it. This change truly is monumental for the industry. It means a more structured, predictable path for BVLOS, allowing organizations like yours to standardize procedures, invest in scalable training, and potentially gain approvals much faster.
Yeah, it's about maturing the industry.
Making it more sustainable.
Exactly. And finally, rounding out our key players, we have the various air traffic control, or ATC, units, air traffic services, or ATS providers, and flight service stations, or FSS.
The folks managing the airspace day to day.
Precisely. These are the crucial human and technological systems like the area control centers managing vast swaths of airspace, airport towers controlling local traffic, and flight service stations providing advisory services. They manage and provide services within Canadian airspace. For RPAS ops, your interaction with them is strictly dictated by the precise terms and conditions of your NAV drone authorization. There's no ambiguity there.
So your authorization could require you to establish two-way radio communication with a tower, maybe engage in phone bridge calls with an FSS for position reports, or it might even quite fascinatingly state no radio required if NAV Canada has strategically deconflicted your traffic in advance. This raises a really important question for many operators. What does no comms required truly mean in this context? Because it certainly doesn't mean no coordination, right?
Exactly. That's a critical clarification, often causes confusion. No comms required doesn't equate to no coordination. What it actually means is that NAV Canada, through their rigorous planning and systems, has proactively built separation into their traffic management plan based on your filed and authorized flight path.
So they've already accounted for the drone.
They've already accounted for your drone's specific flight trajectory within the airspace and will manage other crewed aircraft traffic accordingly, maybe by diverting them or issuing advisories to ensure safe separation.
Okay.
These are the intricate human and technological systems ensuring that all aircraft, crewed or uncrewed, can share the airspace safely and efficiently. Knowing their role helps you, the operator, appreciate the deeply integrated and sophisticated nature of modern air traffic management.
Got it. With all those players identified, let's pivot to planning your mission, specifically the essential pre-flight checks for communications. There's a crucial trinity of pre-flight planning that goes beyond just your NAV drone authorization, and missing any part of it could have serious consequences.
Indeed. As we firmly established, your NAV drone authorization is paramount. Number one, every single condition, especially those related to communications, the method, frequency, reporting points must be thoroughly understood, meticulously documented, and integrated into your operational plan. But that's just the first, albeit essential, leg of this critical trinity.
Right. What's leg number two?
Leg two involves the DAH, the Designated Airspace Handbook, and your trusty VNC charts.
The airspace treasure maps, as I like to call them. These are absolutely vital for understanding your operational environment. What makes the DAH so important, and how do we use it with VNCs for comms planning?
The DAH is the master reference for Canadian airspace designations. It's a comprehensive government publication detailing the classes, dimensions, specific rules for all Canadian airspace, including those critical mandatory frequency, or MF, and aerodrome traffic frequency, or ATF areas.
Okay, so all the official details are in there.
Yes, and you use it hand in hand with visual navigation charts, VNCs, which are your geographical visualization tools. Studying these documents thoroughly is like undertaking a detailed, hidden geography lesson.
Oh, I like that.
You'll uncover the unique quirks of Canada's airspace, like specific Class F advisory areas for parachuting, active forest fires, or military exercises. This process transforms what might initially seem like dry regs into an active exploration of the intricate three-dimensional environment you'll be operating in.
So it helps you really see the airspace.
Exactly. It allows for incredibly meticulous and precise comms planning. You might discover specific frequencies for a military training area or the exact lateral and vertical boundaries of an MF zone that demands radio broadcasts. You need that level of detail.
And it's not just about reading it once, right? The DAH is updated regularly, and knowing that the effective date of your DAH is critical cannot be overstated.
Absolutely critical.
Relying on an outdated version could lead to incorrect frequency use, misunderstanding a new airspace classification, misinterpreting rules, all significant safety risks, potentially leading to violations.
For sure. These aren't just documents sitting on a shelf. They are living, essential tools for truly understanding the 3D environment you're operating in, allowing for accurate and compliant comms planning.
Okay, so authorization, DAH, VNCs. What's the third leg of the Trinity?
The third, and arguably most dynamic and time-sensitive leg. NOTAMs, notices to airmen.
Ah, yes, the real-time updates.
These are time-critical notices affecting airspace, facilities, or procedures, and they hold the ultimate authority, period. Here's where it gets really interesting, and it's a non-negotiable safety principle. If a NOTAM pops up that conflicts in any way with your existing authorization, the NOTAM always wins. There's no debate, no discretion. It overrides your authorization.
That's a stark but absolutely essential safety principle. It means your pre-existing authorization, no matter how carefully obtained or how valid it was just minutes ago, is instantly superseded by a dynamic, time-sensitive NOTAM.
Instantly.
So imagine you have perfect authorization for a BVLOS corridor, maybe a pipeline inspection. You've checked everything.
Yeah.
But on mission day, maybe an hour before launch, a NOTAM announces a forest fire TFR, a temporary flight restriction smack bang over a critical segment of your planned route.
Right.
Despite your authorization, you cannot launch. Full stop.
Precisely. The correct action in that scenario is no-go recoordinate. This isn't just a crucial exam trick. It's a real-world, life-saving safety imperative. NOTAMs represent the most current binding operational information available.
So checking them is vital.
You should always query NOTAMs via CFPS or REX recall systems immediately before your flight, typically within an hour or less of your planned launch. This final diligent check is your absolute last line of defense against unforeseen airspace hazards, ensuring you don't inadvertently fly into a dangerous situation. We use the mnemonic check first, please status for CFPS NOTAMs, emphasizing that this needs to be a critical pre-flight habit.
Check first, please status.
Okay.
Got it. So we've meticulously planned our mission. Now, how do we actually communicate? There's a comms methods hierarchy, and it's definitely not one size fits all. That assumption that drones must always have a VHF radio in controlled airspace is a common misconception, right?
Yeah.
And often an exam trap. Your NAV drone authorization explicitly dictates the required communication method, and it might surprise you.
That's a truly critical point, and one that often catches new operators off guard. While VHF radio with ATC or FSS is certainly a common requirement, especially in higher traffic corridors or specific controlled airspace segments, it's by no means universal for all BVLOS. For instance, phone bridges are often explicitly authorized and used in lower traffic corridors, or for coordination with flight service stations where direct radio contact might not be necessary or practical, or maybe even where cell coverage is more reliable than VHF signal.
Right, practical considerations.
And as we discussed, what's truly fascinating here is that NAV Canada may strategically deconflict traffic, explicitly stating in your authorization that no comms are required for certain segments of your flight.
And again, it bears repeating because it's so fundamental. No comms, no coordination.
Absolutely not.
This isn't a free pass to operate without oversight. It means NAV Canada has already meticulously built separation into their traffic management plans based on your pre-filed authorized flight path. They've accounted for your drone, and they will manage other traffic around you accordingly.
It's a testament to the integrated nature of DroneOx into the national airspace system, where digital planning allows for proactive safety.
Can you give us a concrete scenario to really illustrate this flexibility?
Certainly. Imagine a complex pipeline inspection mission operating under a Class E shelf in a remote area. Your NAV drone authorization for this particular segment might simply state, phone check-in with FSS at launch and landing, report east and west gates by phone, no VHF radio required.
Okay, very specific, no radio needed there.
Exactly. This scenario directly demonstrates that the radio always required assumption is false. Or consider sheltered operations, where a drone is flying extremely close to large structures like building inspections. In such cases, if the operational risk assessment supports it, the authorization might specify no radio comms at all, relying instead on maybe a pre-established ground-based communication link to a site safety manager.
I see.
This comms hierarchy offers incredible flexibility, but critically demands strict, unwavering adherence to your specific authorization. It moves beyond a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, reflecting the diverse risk profiles and operational environments of modern BVLOS missions.
Now, let's talk about the BVLOS crew itself. Operating a BVLOS mission is seldom a one-person show, is it?
Rarely, if ever, for complex ops.
Clear crew roles are absolutely essential to reduce comms, errors, and confusion. I've heard it brilliantly described using a starship crew analogy for good reason. And Transport Canada, through its regulations, directly imports crew resource management, or CRM, principles from traditional aviation into BVLOS operations, emphasizing teamwork and clear communication.
That analogy makes it very relatable, doesn't it? Helps visualize the dynamic. And CRM is key. At the top of that command structure, you have the RPIC, the remote pilot in command.
The captain.
The captain, exactly. This individual is the final authority for the entire flight, directly responsible for executing any aborts or contingency plans. And here's where a crucial exam trick often arises regarding accountability chains.
Okay.
The RPIC is legally responsible for all external communications, even if they delegate the actual act of transmitting to another crew member.
So they can delegate the task, but not the ultimate responsibility.
Precisely. That's a critical distinction. Then you have the communicator, who, if transmitting on VHF, must be a ROCA holder.
Right, the ROCA rule.
This dedicated crew member is solely responsible for managing all external communications with ATCF, FSS, or through phone bridges. They also bear the responsibility for meticulously maintaining a detailed transmission log, recording every external exchange, time, frequency, who you spoke to, what was said.
Documentation is key.
Absolutely. Next, we might have an airspace monitor continuously tracking local air traffic, often using specialized apps or maybe an airband receiver, enhancing the team's situational awareness. Crucially, they do not need a ROCA certificate because they are not transmitting.
Just listening.
Just listening. Then maybe a payload flight technician monitoring the drone system health, managing telemetry data, providing critical callouts regarding aircraft status, battery levels, system anomalies, payload function.
Okay.
And finally, safety observers strategically positioned according to the operational design, often focusing on specific phases like launch and landing zone monitoring, providing eyes on the ground or in specific sectors.
Thinking of your operation like a bridge crew from a starship really does make remembering these distinct roles much more intuitive and highlights the intense coordinated effort required.
It does.
It also brings to mind the concept of sterile periods, those critical phases of flight like launch and landing, where absolutely no casual chatters is permitted, only essential communications directly related to the operation.
That's a fantastic point. And sterile cockpit, or in this case, sterile ground control station, is a direct application of CRM principles to minimize distractions during high workload phases. Critical for safety.
Definitely.
And to circle back to the RPIC's responsibility just one more time. In a scenario where, for example, a communicator with the ROCA is expertly handling all transmissions, but the RPIC does not hold a ROCA themselves,
Right.
that is perfectly legal. However, the RPIC fundamentally remains legally responsible for the content and timing of those communications. Your organization's RPOC standard operating procedures will, and absolutely should, explicitly define these roles, responsibilities, and clear handover procedures to ensure absolute clarity and safety.
So everyone knows their job.
Exactly. Understanding and clearly defining these roles is foundational to safe, efficient, and compliant BVLOS operations. It's about building a robust, resilient team capable of managing the inherent complexity of flying beyond visual line of sight.
Beyond who talks, it's critically important how they talk. We need to speak the language. Standard aviation phraseology essentials. When external comms are required, especially via VHF radio, you're not just having casual chat, you're stepping into the exact same radio culture as traditional pilots. Using plain standard aviation phraseology is absolutely essential. Why? To reduce back and forth, prevent misreads, eliminate unnecessary transmissions, basically keep things clear and concise.
This is about joining a global, highly regulated club with its own very precise dialect, if you will. Every word and phrase has a specific, universally understood meaning. For example, the word Roger.
Ah, yes, the classic example.
It simply means, I have received your transmission, nothing more. It absolutely does not mean I agree or I will comply or yes, that's correct. Examiners absolutely love to slip that distinction into test questions to catch people out.
I bet they do.
This standardization isn't just about sounding professional. It profoundly enhances clarity and safety across the entire aviation spectrum. Misunderstandings due to non-standard phraseology can, and unfortunately sometimes do, lead to hazardous situations or even incidents. It's about leaving absolutely no room for ambiguity.
It's such a critical detail, the Roger example especially. It just highlights how precise this language needs to be. So give us some key examples of this essential phraseology that BVLOS operators might use.
Of course. For an initial call, maybe advisory, or as directed by your authorization, you might transmit something like, Edmonton Tower, Sky Commander Drone 1, RPAS operation per NAV drone authorization, insert ID number at your location altitude, request traffic advisories. Clear, concise, all the key info.
Okay. What about position reports?
For required position reports, common in corridor operations, Sky Commander Drone 1 at Corridor Gate C2, 200 AGL, time 15.20 U Zulu, proceeding eastbound, next report at 15.3 Zulu. Again, precise location, altitude, time, direction, next action.
Right, and maybe the most critical one, an emergency.
An abort or contingency call must be crystal clear and immediate. Sky Commander Drone 1 executing contingency plan Alpha, diverting to landing zone Charlie ETA 6 minutes. Everyone needs to know exactly what's happening. Mastering this specific language not only helps you communicate effectively and efficiently with ATC and FSS, but it also seamlessly integrates you into the broader aviation community, fostering that shared, immediate understanding of intentions and actions, paramount for safety.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about navigating the airspace layers, because Canadian airspace is meticulously layered, and different classes come with very distinct communication requirements. You'll need to know these distinctions cold.
Absolutely. Cold. First, let's look at Class E airspace. If your BVLOS corridor at any point passes through Class E controlled airspace, you always need NAV drone authorization for that specific segment.
Always. No exceptions.
No exceptions. It's a clear-cut, non-negotiable rule. Consider Scenario 7 from the materials, the power line inspection. The drone starts in uncontrolled Class G, then passes underneath the Class E shelf, and eventually approaches a Class D control zone. That segment under the Class E shelf explicitly requires NAV drone authorization.
Right.
And that authorization will clearly state your communication requirements for that particular airspace. It's a simple, direct rule. Class E is NAV drone authorization for BVLOS every single time.
Got it. Then there's Class G airspace, which is generally considered uncontrolled airspace and usually doesn't require NAV drone authorization for BVLOS flights. However, and this is where it gets really interesting and presents a significant exam trap.
Ah, the trap.
Mandatory frequency, or MF, or airdrome traffic frequency, or ATF, rules may still impose very specific radio communication requirements on you, even within uncontrolled Class G.
This is a truly crucial detail that many operators overlook. These MF and ATF rules act as regulatory overlays. They take precedence and dictate your actions, even if your NAV drone authorization for that Class G segment states no ATC radio required.
Okay, so the MF-ATF rule trumps the authorization in this specific case.
For broadcasting intentions locally, yes. If you are operating within a designated MF or ATF area, typically 5 nautical miles around an aerodrome and up to 2,000 feet AGL, you are legally obligated to broadcast your intentions on that specific frequency.
And
You'll need a ROCA certificate to transmit these broadcasts. Scenario 3, the MF aerodrome trap, perfectly illustrates this. You're flying 3 nautical miles from an MF aerodrome. Your authorization says no ATC radio required because you're in Class G, but you must still actively broadcast your position and intentions on the MF frequency to alert other local traffic.
Because there could be manned aircraft there expecting those calls.
Exactly. Ignoring this could lead to a near miss.
So the takeaway here is clear. Don't ever let the uncontrolled nature of Class G lull you into a false sense of security regarding comms. Always, always check for MF-ATF overlays using your DAH and VNC charts as part of your comprehensive pre-flight planning. It's a very common area for mistakes.
Very common. Lastly, in this section, we have Class F, CYR, CYA, special use airspace. These areas, including restricted CYR or advisory CYA areas, may be restricted or prohibited by NOTAM.
Okay, so NOTAM's come into play here again.
This is yet another critical point where NOTAM supremacy is unequivocally evident. Even if your general operating area is otherwise open and clear, a temporary Class F NOTAM, maybe for military exercises, active parachuting, or a large public event like an air show can instantly create a restricted area that overrides your authorization.
That's a powerful reminder of how dynamic airspace can be. Scenario 9, for instance, dealing with a large event airspace NOTAM overlay, shows an air show creating a temporary Class F restricted area. This means your pre-existing authorization for that area is effectively suspended, and you absolutely cannot operate unless very special and explicit coordination with the event organizers and ATC has been obtained.
Correct. You need specific permission for that specific event airspace?
You need to be acutely aware of these special use airspaces, especially when dynamic events or activities are occurring. They require vigilance, thorough pre-flight checks, and potentially immediate recoordination.
This naturally raises an incredibly important question for anyone operating BVLOS. What happens when your sophisticated communication system suddenly goes silent?
Right, the dreaded lost comms scenario.
Transport Canada expects an immediate, decisive response. Not improvisation, not hoping it resolves itself. Proactive contingency planning is absolutely non-negotiable.
That's right. The stakes are too high for hesitation. If you lose your primary external communication path, your radio link, your phone bridge, maybe even your primary command and control link during a BVLOS mission, the correct and immediate action is execute the contingency plan immediately and notify ATC FSS as soon as possible via alternate means. You never, ever keep flying hoping it will resolve or try to troubleshoot complex issues in the air. That's a recipe for disaster.
This highlights a critical human factors principle in aviation. Pre-briefed, immediate action is paramount for safety. Your entire crew needs to know exactly who calls whom, what information to broadcast, if applicable, and precisely where the RPS will proceed according to the plan.
Drilled beforehand.
Absolutely drilled. Scenario 4, an emergency lost comms event illustrates a communicator losing cell coverage during a phone bridge call. The RPIC must immediately command the RPA to hold in its predefined contingency volume, and the mission is aborted if stable communications cannot be restored within a predetermined time frame.
Okay.
Scenario 10 further details a radio failure mid-transmission requiring the RPIC to execute the contingency plan while the communicator simultaneously attempts to notify ATC via a backup phone link. Your safety, your crew's safety, and crucially, the safety of the public and other airspace users depend entirely on a well-drilled immediate response to lost communications. This isn't just theory, it's a life-saving protocol that must be practiced.
And central to these robust contingency plans are 2 key new terms from the Part IX framework: the operational volume versus the contingency volume. These are essentially predefined safety zones. What's the distinction and why are they so crucial?
Good question. The operational volume is precisely the three-dimensional airspace where your RPAS is planned to fly to accomplish this mission. It's the intended box of operation, if you like.
Well, where it's supposed to be.
Exactly. The contingency volume, on the other hand, is a slightly larger, predefined escape area, a safe haven where the RPS can autonomously deviate or hold if something goes wrong, like lost comms, without immediately impacting other airspace users or going somewhere unexpected.
Got it. A safety buffer zone.
Precisely. These terms are truly the backbone of the new Level 1 Complex Operations Framework. Your comms planning, your alert systems, your handoff procedures, they're all anchored to these specific volumes. For instance, your lost comms plan dictates exactly where your RPA will go within its designated contingency volume.
Okay.
Now, if, during a lost link or lost comms event, the RPA actually exits its contingency volume,
That's bad.
that's a more serious situation. ATC FSS must be notified immediately as per your authorization. And in extremely rare, dire circumstances where the RPA is truly uncontrolled and presents a significant ground or air risk, notification to local authorities or even 911 might be required.
Great.
Scenario 13, the sheltered ops contingency, highlights this. Even in low-comm sheltered operations, immediate phone notification to NAV Canada is mandatory if the RPAS unexpectedly exits its operational volume, like a flyaway into open airspace.
Oh.
Understanding these volumes is critical for designing safe operational boundaries and developing robust, accountable contingency plans that meet regulatory expectations.
In the absolute rarest and most dire of circumstances, we need to touch on emergency protocols like Mayday, PAN-PAN, and the Universal Emergency Frequency, 121.5 megahertz. Hopefully, no BVLOS operator ever needs to use these,
We hope not.
but the knowledge is vital.
Indeed. While hopefully never needed, this knowledge is a cornerstone of aviation safety. In the extremely rare event of a dire emergency, say, an uncontrolled flyaway posing a direct and immediate risk to manned aircraft or people on the ground, or heaven forbid, an actual collision, you may be justified in initiating a blind radio call on an emergency frequency.
Okay.
A distress call, which is Mayday, stated 3 times, is reserved for situations of serious or imminent danger requiring immediate assistance. Highly unlikely for most drone ops, given size and profiles, but critical knowledge for an RPAS.
Right.
An urgency call, PAN-PAN, stated 3 times, is for a serious situation, but not necessarily requiring immediate action or assistance. Perhaps a system malfunction that could lead to a distress situation if not handled.
Okay, slightly less critical than Mayday.
Correct. And 121.5 megahertz is the International Aviation Emergency Frequency, to be used only as a last resort when no other communication channel is available. As veteran drone expert Don Joyce's video highlights, these calls are for situations where your drone is truly out of control and manned aviation is potentially at risk. It's about ensuring the widest possible alert.
Makes sense.
Also, it's worth noting, in certain emergency response corridors, as shown in Scenario 12, comms might extend beyond aviation authorities to include non-aviation stakeholders like municipal emergency coordination centers, depending on the nature of the emergency. This complete understanding of your responsibilities, even in extreme scenarios, demonstrates a deep commitment to safety culture.
Let's shift gears now and look at the fascinating evolution of BVLOS in Canada. How we're moving from an ad hoc system to one that's much more standardized. The Canadian RPAS regulatory landscape for BVLOS has undergone, and it's continuing to undergo, significant transformation, actively moving towards more structured and predictable frameworks.
Yes, the journey has been quite remarkable in what we're calling the Old World, which effectively runs up to November 3, 2025.
Okay, the current situation mostly.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah.
Most BVLOS operations generally required an SFOC RPAS for each and every mission. This meant communication and coordination requirements were largely bespoke, case-by-case conditions set by NAV Canada, based on an individualized risk assessment for each unique operation.
Right, very custom.
Very custom. BVLOS was initially deemed too risky and too novel for standardized rules, necessitating this highly customized oversight for everything from detect and avoid to comms and coordination. This approach, while initially necessary for safety, often led to significant delays in approval, increased administrative burden, and considerable operational costs for operators,
Which slowed things down.
ultimately slowing the pace of industry innovation. Understanding this historical context helps you, the listener, truly appreciate the rationale and the profound benefits behind the upcoming changes.
And now, we turn our attention to the new world, officially beginning November 4, 2025. Here's where it gets really interesting, and you'll want to circle this date on your calendar again. November 4, 2025 is a critical effective date because that's when the Level 1 complex regulations finally come into force. This creates Canada's brand new entry tier for lower risk BVLOS operations, complete with defined safety and communication requirements. This isn't just an update, it's a paradigm shift, really.
It absolutely is a paradigm shift. This date marks the beginning of a more structured, scalable future for BVLOS in Canada. Key changes include the requirement for organizations to operate under an RPOC, the RPAS operator certificate we discussed.
Right, the organizational certificate.
And individual pilots will need a new, dedicated pilot certificate Level 1 complex. The new framework introduces codified definitions for critical operational concepts like operational volume, contingency volume, and ground risk buffer, creating a common language for safety assessments.
Standardizing the terminology.
Exactly. A subtle but highly testable exception also emerges for sheltered operations. This refers to BVLOS flights conducted within a close proximity. The example used is often within 100 feet vertically and 200 feet horizontally of building structures.
Okay, flying close to things.
Right. These specific types of operations may not require traditional radio communications if the risk profile allows, as explicitly specified in the NAV drone authorization. It's a practical carve-out for certain urban or industrial inspection tasks.
Interesting.
And crucially, SFOCs don't disappear entirely. They will still exist for higher risk or truly non-standard operations that don't fit the Level 1 framework. However, they will now incur specific fees.
The fees again.
Which acts as that regulatory incentive for operators to migrate to the more streamlined and potentially cost-effective Level 1 complex framework where appropriate. This entire shift moves us from custom rules in each SFOC to standardized frameworks under Part 9s, aiming to provide predictable frameworks for SOPs and training, ultimately leading to better safety outcomes and significantly faster approval processes.
That distinction with sheltered operations is a fantastic example of the new framework's practicality. Scenario 4, sheltered urban BVLOS, shows a building-hugging facade survey at 80 feet AGL. Under the new rules, this might be authorized with no radio required at all, maybe just a cellular link with site safety and FSS if an abort is necessary.
Precisely. It highlights the real-world application of that new rule.
This is truly the future of lower-risk BVLOS in Canada, and being intimately aware of these changes is essential for any drone operator planning to expand their operational capabilities.
And looking even further into the future vision, we can expect a gradual yet steady expansion of BVLOS privileges as enabling technologies like advanced detect and avoid systems continue to prove their reliability and maturity.
As the tech gets better.
Exactly. There will be increased integration with sophisticated UAS traffic management, or UTM systems. Those are designed to manage low-altitude airspace specifically for drones. And potentially a reduced reliance on traditional ROCA VHF comms as advanced digital communication platforms mature and become more widely accepted and standardized.
So, more digital comms, potentially.
Potentially. The overarching vision is for BVLOS operations to evolve, eventually resembling today's Instrument Flight Rules, or IFR, flight environment for manned aircraft. Standardized procedures, highly predictable authorization processes, and seamless, integrated digital communications between the RPAS, NAV CANADA, and the operational crew.
A more integrated system overall.
Yes. This glimpse into the future clearly shows how rapidly the industry is evolving, promising not only greater efficiency, but also enhanced safety through continued technological advancement and regulatory refinement.
Now let's wrap up this deep dive by highlighting some common misconceptions and absolute exam essentials. We're going to frame these as comedy mistakes, things that often trip up even experienced operators, maybe to help them stick in your mind.
Okay, the common pitfalls. Let's start with a classic. Drones must always have a VHF radio in controlled airspace. True or false?
Correction. False. As we've extensively discussed, the NAV drone authorization is your definitive guide. It dictates the specific comms method. Could be radio, could be phone bridge, could even be no direct comms if NAV Canada has strategically deconflicted your traffic. That's a classic exam trap, testing your understanding of authorization primacy.
Absolutely. Okay, next one. ROCA is a Transport Canada pilot endorsement.
Correction. False again. Remember, the ROCA is issued by Eisdown Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. It's a completely separate radio operator certificate, distinct from your Transport Canada RPAS pilot certificate. Know your government departments.
Good one. What about SFOCs? Will they disappear entirely once Level 1 complex operations exist, say after November 2025?
Correction. Another false. SFOCs will absolutely still exist for higher risk or non-standard operations that don't fit the Level 1 framework. They just won't be the only path to BVLOS anymore. And crucially, they will now incur fees, encouraging operators to transition where possible. They're not vanishing.
Got it. Let's talk about NOTAM supremacy. Is it really absolute? What if my authorization seems more specific?
Absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. NOTAM supremacy is absolute. Your authorization is always superseded by any conflicting time-critical NOTAM. Always, always check them immediately before flight. This is a non-negotiable safety principle. Don't argue with a NOTAM.
Okay, clear. And RPIC accountability. Can the pilot in command fully delegate responsibility for communications if they have a qualified communicator?
Non-delegable. Not completely. While the task of transmitting can be delegated to a communicator with a ROCA, the RPIC always retains the ultimate legal responsibility for all external communications and flight decisions. That's a favorite test trick, examining your understanding of the command chain. Responsibility stays with the captain.
Right. The MFATF airspace trap, does that really apply even if I'm in Class G and my authorization says no radio needed?
Yes, it's a trap to watch for. Even if your NAV drone authorization says no ATC radio required because you're in Class G, you must still broadcast on the MFATF frequency if you're operating within that designated area, typically 5 NM2000 AGL. It's a critical local safety overlay.
Okay. And finally, what's the expected action for lost comms during a mission? Wait and see. Try to fix it.
Immediate action without hesitation. The expectation is immediate execution of your pre-briefed contingency plan, not lingering or hoping for a resolution. Examiners love to test how quickly and decisively you must act in such a critical scenario. Hesitation is dangerous.
Okay. Learning from these common oops stories, as you called them, will make you a more informed, more compliant, and ultimately a much safer operator, helping avoid both real-world blunders and those sneaky exam questions.
Exactly. All right, let's bring this comprehensive deep dive to a close with some key takeaways and memory aids, your ultimate BVLOS checklist. First, we have Plan, Talk, Trace for BVLOS comms. What does that mean?
Okay, plan means meticulously consulting your NAV drone authorization, diligently reviewing DAH-VNC charts, and always checking those NOTAMs. That's the pre-flight homework.
Right. Then talk.
Talk means precisely scripting who talks, when they talk, and how they talk, always using standard aviation phraseology. Practice it.
And trace.
Trace means maintaining a comprehensive transmission coordination log for every external exchange note, the time, content, the person involved. This log is your proof of compliance, your operational diary.
Plan, talk, trace. Good one. We also have Gates ABC for scripted call points, helping remember what to report.
Right. Gates stands for specific gates or waypoints, your altitude, the current time, usually Zulu, your ETA to the next point, and your current status.
Gates and ABC.
That leads to ABC for abort, boundary, and contingency, the critical information you must be ready to communicate clearly and quickly if things go sideways.
Got it. And of course, never forget the ROCA rule.
If you key the mic, you carry the cert. Simple as that. These mnemonics and checklists are your direct, practical tools for retaining this crucial information, making complex rules immediately accessible whether you're studying for your certificate or out in the field executing a critical mission.
But beyond the mnemonics, what are those absolute non-negotiable essentials, the things you just have to know for both exams and safe operations in the field?
Okay, the must-dos. You must always, without fail, check the DAH and NOTAMs before every single BVLOS mission. Know that NAV drone is the sole official tool for recording controlled airspace access. Remember, a ROCA is required only if you are actively transmitting on VHF. Understand your crew roles intimately and clearly define who talks externally for what purpose. Memorize that critical effective date, November 4, 2025, for Level 1 complex operations. That's a big one. Always pre-brief your lost comms procedures and contingency calls with your entire team before every flight. Remember that meticulously logging all comms events is how you prove compliance and operational diligence. If transmitting on VHF, proficiency in standard English or French phraseology isn't just recommended, it's absolutely essential.
Right.
Always apply crew resource management, CRM principles to your team, fostering a culture of safety and effective communication. And finally, be aware of the fee structures for SFOCs post-2025, as that will influence your operational planning and budgeting. These points are truly the foundational pillars for safe, compliant, and scalable BVLOS operations in Canada.
Okay, let's unpack this final thought. We've just completed a truly comprehensive deep dive into BVLOS communications and coordination within Canadian airspace. You now know that your authorization is the absolute anchor for everything, that no TAMs hold the ultimate overriding authority, and that robust practice contingency planning isn't just a good idea, it's an unwavering, non-negotiable safety imperative.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
We've thoroughly explored the critical roles your crew plays in ensuring safe operations and peered into the exciting future of Level 1 complex operations, seeing how predictable, standardized frameworks are actively replacing the more ad hoc, customized rules of the past.
It's a massive shift. Now, as BVLS operations continue to integrate further into our national airspace, perhaps with the digital communication systems becoming as prevalent and accepted as traditional radio, and UTM systems managing an increasing volume of drone traffic, what new challenges and opportunities will emerge for you, the remote pilot?
Interesting question.
Will the Starship captain, the RPIC, still need to sound exactly like a traditional manned aviation pilot using VHF phraseology, or will we see a new, entirely digital dialect of the skies evolve for drone operations?
A digital dialect.
And how will the essential human element of crew coordination adapt and evolve to work seamlessly, safely, with increasingly automated systems, maybe even AI co-pilots down the line?
These are profound questions that will definitely shape the future. Understanding these evolving rules not only keeps you compliant and safe today, but it positions you squarely at the forefront of a rapidly advancing field. You're not just flying drones, you're actively helping to define and build the future of aviation in Canada.
You really are part of that evolution.
So what does this all mean for your next mission? And how will you contribute to this incredible journey? Something to think about.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.